Welcome, everyone. We are live for season 2, episode 9 of the CSA Fireside Chat. We are in Malaysia, beautiful Malaysia, Malaysia that I'm looking forward to visiting with the team from the CSA. I am your chair. My name is Benjamin. I'm proudly Jamaican. I don't know how much more I could stress that. I've said it in every episode, and I will perhaps continue to say it in every episode to come. I have the privilege of sitting with this panel of leaders from Malaysia, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, starting with Jamila.
Well, hello, hi, assalamualaikum, and a very good evening to Ben, yeah, Izwan, and Sukavi. Hello, my name is Jamila, and I am well, I'm actually no longer a student, so I think the capacity of me being here is more towards of my experience, my past experience of representing Malaysia to the Commonwealth Youth Parliament, and same goes to Izwan. I was the former vice president of MPPK, the National Student Council of Malaysia, and I was also the former president of my university. So I think that's a little bit about me. Thank you very much, Ben, for inviting Kabi as the CSA rep from Malaysia. And I believe that we are going to have a delightful conversation this evening. And thank you very much and looking forward.
Great, thank you. Izwan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening to all. My name is Muhammad Izwan Faiz, and Rahman just call me Izwan. Currently in my final year, Bachelor in International Affairs Management in University of Malaysia. Also currently I'm a president for the Student Representative Council in UUM, and a successor for Jamila in the National Council. Apart from that, I'm an alumni for student volunteers. Back in 2019, I went to Laos for the volunteerism, and also alumni for Malaysian Youth Parliament members, third batch. And I want to take to this opportunity to thanks to Ben and Kevin for having me. Can't wait to start our sharing session. Thank you, Ben.
All right, and Kevin, my guy. Kevin, let's go.
Thank you, Ben. And hello, guys. I'm Kevin Ishnai here. And I'm currently Vice President of Student Representative Council of University of Utara Malaysia, and going to be a former, in this week, maybe a former Vice President already. I'm going to be expired soon. And then currently doing as a CSA country rep. And then I also represented Malaysia for Asian and Japan Youth Forum, and a member of Take Action for Social Change of Asian members. And I hope today we have a wonderful talk session together with Jamila and Izwan. And thank you, Jamila and Izwan, for being together with us today.
Thank you. Now, you'd be surprised how many young people from Commonwealth nations don't know, one, that their countries are part of the Commonwealth. They don't know that there are 56 countries in the Commonwealth. They don't know that Malaysia is part of the Commonwealth. So you're going to tell us about Malaysia. And I want you to describe this diverse nation for someone who didn't even know about it. Yes? So I believe Kevin is going to give us the story of beautiful Malaysia.
Sure, again, Ben. So first of all, I will proud to tell about Malaysia, and at the same time, if I have any more that I left over something of anything, please Izwan or Jamila can add on. Maybe if I left anything. So absolutely, Malaysia is a diverse and vibrant country in Southeast Asia, and the population among Malaysia that we can say it was around 32 million people in Malaysia. And it's a multicultural nation that we are mixed with Malays, Chinese, Indian, and indigenous ethnic groups in Malaysia. So Malaysia and other indigenous groups make up the majority is the Malays, followed by Chinese and Indian and other populations also. So the Malays are predominantly we can tell as Muslim, while the Chinese and Indian communities practice various religions like Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, and Sikhism also. So in Malaysia, the official language that we are using is Bahasa Malaysia or Malay language. We are using this is the official language of Malaysia. But English, Chinese, Hindus, Malayalis, or any other dialects are also widely spoken in Malaysia. So let's go about the history of Malaysia. Malaysia is a rich historical place that more go for a tapestry. It was part of the maritime silk that drawing influence from various cultures. This was colonized by the Portuguese and British during the before the independence of the Malaysia before 1957. So it was notable periods of originate from the Malacca Sultanate and country rule, and it was a modern journey as a sovereign nations. So in this Malaysia, when we see the economy of Malaysia, it's a diverse economy that in terms of manufacturing sector, like especially go for electronics, automotive, and machinery. And it is also a significant exporter of natural resources, for example, like petroleum, palm oil, or rubber. So these types of things are playing major role for economy in Malaysia. So overall, the country's economic growth was currently was impressive, transitioning from agriculture to the economy to one of the focused is manufacturing services and technology. And over the years, Malaysia had made the infrastructure development, education, and healthcare to developing as a developing country in the region. So that's a bit about Malaysia from me. Maybe anything from Camila or Izwan also.
Well, Kavi, you did not left anything, just to make sure. I just like to ask, well, if I can describe Malaysia using one word, right, Ben? I would describe it as rojak. Tonight you will learn a bahasa Melayu called rojak. Rojak is a translation to mix of everything. So Malaysia, I describe it as mix of everything because we are literally a nation that can work with different culture, different languages, and different people, right? So I think that is basically my point of view of Malaysia. I think Kavi almost covered everything, and I feel like I'm in a history lesson. But thank you very much, Kavi, and I think that's all my opinion for this.
Roja. Did I get that right?
Rojak.
Rojak.
R-O-J-A-K. Rojak.
Rojak.
Yes, it is actually a dish. So when you come to Malaysia, you should try our rojak, right?
Okay.
It's a very interesting meal because it literally mix of everything. Fruits, and then there is some sauces, some nuts. So it's a mix of everything. So that is how I describe Malaysia as well, because we are mix of everything from the diverse background, but we can work together as a nation.
I love that you decided to sum it up in one word. In the previous chat with Sri Lanka, one of the panelists described Sri Lanka as a holiday. So now we're describing Malaysia as rojak. I love it. Beautiful. So today our topic is the classrooms of Malaysia, language, Islamic religious education, and cultural diversity. The Commonwealth is a family of nations from Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, the Pacific, and Europe. Geographically alone, I don't know how much more diverse it could get. In the spread of nations, we have many ethnicities, many races, different forms of government. There are monarchies, there are bipartisan systems, etc. There is religious diversity, which is something that I'm keen about as a person of faith myself. And I discovered by following pages like the Ministry of Education of Brunei, Ministry of Education of Qatar, Ministry of Education of Malaysia, that I discovered that Islamic religious education is as important as math or science. And obviously, from somebody who is outside of the region, somebody who is from the Caribbean, a Western part of the world, that's very different. I found it quite interesting that, in fact, a division of the Ministry of Education in Malaysia is dedicated to Islamic religious education. And I want to learn today. Today, I am your student. So I will be asking you questions, but not just for me, on behalf of thousands and millions of other young people who want to learn about what life is like, what the delivery of education looks like in Malaysia, and how it influences the outcomes. How does this help to prepare global citizens, employable citizens, entrepreneurs, leaders? Quite keen on learning about that. We'll also be discussing language and cultural diversity. Let's get right into it. Jamila, describe the issue in the education sector as it pertains to the language of instruction. I saw an article about Malay and English, but you can tell us about that.
All right, thank you very much, Ben. I love that you picked this topic as our discussion tonight because I think education is something that I dearly hold to me myself in my heart. Because for me, I think education is very important. With education, you can change the world. Without it, you are nothing. You are not. You can't be a change maker without education, without knowledge, right? So the problem that highlighted in the article that you mentioned, right? For everyone's information, I believe we have also online viewer, right? Out there. This article that Ben shared to us is actually discussing the concern in Malaysia's education system, suggesting a potential unpreparedness for the future because now because in Malaysia education, we keep on changing the main language to be learned, right? Last 5 years, it was fully English. So we learn math and science in English. But the next 5 years, it's different. We have to learn this math and science in Malay. So it has become a debate, right? Which language should we use? Because as we all know, English is something, is a very important language to be learned in order for us to be marketable in this global world. But Malay language is also as important because it preserves our culture identity, right? So this article is basically highlighted about the concern of using which language to be used as the main language to teach the children. So I think the primary issue that revolves around the changes in the language of instruction is particularly shift from English to Malay, as I mentioned just now. It raises fears about the student readiness for the global competitiveness because in order for us to be marketable, as I mentioned, for us to be ready for the global, we have to being good in conversing in our English, right? So for me, my opinion for this issue, right? Needless to say, I think Bahasa Melayu is definitely a mandatory subject, and if it become the medium of instruction in school and public universities, it has to be. I mean, my personal opinion would be Bahasa Melayu. So I would not use English as the main language if I become the minister. Why? Because there is no compromise in learning the language, right? Because if I'm a Malaysian, I should be proud of saying that that is my mother language. Bahasa Malaysia is my mother language. And in fact, Malaysians of all races have no problem in accepting Bahasa Melayu as the official national language because I believe it's not just the lingua franca back then before independence, but also the requirement from our federal constitution. The moment you call yourself a Malaysian, you should be able to converse yourself in Malay, right? So for me, the problem of our parents' concern is that they scared that if the teachers are going to teach them science and math in Malay, or their children will not be able to converse in English. So that is their main concern that you have to understand. But I believe I am the proof of the experiment to the government that has been changing the system from the past 10 to 20 years. Because why? In my elementary school, I learned sciences and math in English. But when I come to my secondary school, I actually learned math and science in Malay. So you know how I have to shift my knowledge to a totally different language. And plus, I was actually from a boarding school, one of the top boarding school in Malaysia. I was forced some more by my teachers. They taught me math and science in Malay, right? But they give us the paper, the questions in English. So what it is kind of like messed up, right? Because you learn everything in Malay, but you were given the questions in English. So practically, it's actually a very for me it was a very uneasy but beneficial situation that I had to go through. Because of that, I am able to converse the knowledge in both languages. So you see, it's the matter on how you tap the problem, right? The government asks you to learn in Malay. So what you need to do in order for you to be marketable in the global is that you have to have the initiative to learn English outside of your education syllabus, right? So I think that is my opinion regarding the issue mentioned in the article. Yeah. If anyone would like to add.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jamila. That was beautiful. I do have a follow-up question that is not on script for Izwan. Mr. President, in your opinion, do you think that this hesitation from the parents who would be closer to the period of influence of colonialism is because there is that remnant of a lack of acceptance of our own identity? There is, in many Commonwealth countries, the residue of I don't like my hair, my language, my music, my dress, because for decades and centuries in many countries, we were taught that it is less. Do you feel that this hesitation from the parents towards Malay being the language of instruction has anything to do with that?
Right. Thank you, Ben, for the wonderful question. To answer that question, Mr. Ben, as we know, right, like Kevin and Jamila said just now, Malaysia is a diverse and multicultural country, right? We are living since before 1957, since our Independence Day, right? But currently, we are living in what we call a post-norm. We are living in what we call is unpredictable, right? Unpredictable environment here. When it comes to language, when it comes to our nationality and so on, for me, the most important things or the key of this chaos is back to the nationalism itself. Of course, like Jamila said just now, when it comes to language in Malaysia, Malay, right, bahasa Melayu Malaysia is a what we call is a multilingual society. But when it comes to a language, this is our national language under the Federation Constitution here in Malaysia. But doesn't mean we cannot learn about other language then. Same goes to when it comes to our other than language, when it comes to culture, for example, Mr. Ben. So the priority here as a Malaysian, I can see the main things is, of course, we need to be proud of our language. We need to be proud of our identity. But the main things is how we sustain it and how we encourage our current generation, because there's a new challenges, I believe, like Mr. Ben said just now, the type of colonization. I believe the terms, or we can translate it to the globalization. Now, I do believe globalization is a type of a new colonization, but doesn't mean when we talk about the globalizations, it means we are living in things that cross our borders. Now, for example, now, right, through this online platform, I can get know Mr. Ben, right? So means like this is the borderless world now, Mr. Ben. We need to accept it and we need to be adaptable. But doesn't mean when we talk about the globalization means like, oh, I'm a less Malay. No, it's not. It shouldn't be like that. So for me, right, anywhere we go, the language itself, when it comes to the religion, of course, it always be part of our identity. So no compromise about that, Mr. Ben. Yeah, I think that's my response to your question. Thank you.
Wow. Jamila and Izwan, you've made big shoes to fill, because now I'm going to ask Kevin his question, and I mean your responses have just been whoo, excellent. Excellent. Kevin, do you view the policy directive to teach in Malay as an effort of the government to decolonize education?
All right, so we're coming about of the policies in Malaysia. So it's a good question from Ben. So when we see the policy directive that in Malay is the effort of the government decolonize education. So the policy directive to teach Malaysian is a national language actually. Malay is considered as a national language in Malaysia, and it was intention to promote our national unity. And the Malay is the playing a role to promoting the national unity and strengthening the identity of the country among all the Asian countries in Malaysia. So that's why it aimed to elevate Bahasa Malaysia as the primary language of instruction in schools, institutions, since kindergartens until the higher university levels in Malaysia. So when we see, while the directive was not explicitly was decolonizing the education, it did carry also some sort of assert national identity that can reduce the influence of colonial language like English. And this decolonization often involves challenging or dismantling structures and system rooted in colonialisms, which can include language policies. But in Malaysia case, when we see the Malaysia case, the move of the emphasized Bahasa Malaysia in education can be seen as a step forward in terms of independence and fostering a sense of national pride, with taking Bahasa Malaysia as a national pride. So it aimed to ensure the country's citizens, regardless of ethnic background in Malaysia, had a common language that could unify them and facilitate communication across diverse communities in Malaysia. Even though we have a different cultures, ethnics in Malaysia, this Bahasa Malaysia bringing all the ethnics together to have a one-way communication and a national pride to be not only in Malaysia, as Jamila says, a lingua franca language that been one of the highest language in Asian countries those days. Then, however, some of the perspectives that argue that policy might have been indirectly marginalized non-Malay ethnic groups, which they are believing that mother tongue will not the language, the national language, or Malay not should be the national language, something like that. So these efforts have been made to maintain the teaching of the other languages as subject as schools also. So not other languages, Tamil, English, or Chinese also been maintained in teaching in all the primary schools and secondary schools. Even in higher education also, we are still learning other languages also. Like myself, I'm taking Mandarin in my university as an additional language. So there's no marginalizations of stopping other languages in Malaysia. They're still maintaining and improving other languages also in Malaysia. So while the directive was explicitly framed as decolonization, it do reflect a strengthened national identity that we can make sure that Malaysia always strengthen language with Bahasa Malaysia. So this is some of my thoughts regarding the policy directive towards Malay as the government to decolonize education.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I need to take a few steps back, remake the poster, and we need to put high-level panel. This is not just an ordinary discussion. The level of response and thought, you guys are some thought leaders here. It is so impressive. So I want to ask each of you, having said what you said about globalization is one, about decolonizing, and about national identity, Jamila. In your opinion, starting with Jamila, what does language have to do with a person's identity?
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. I think this is a really interesting question. Well, if you ask me, 50 years ago, language merely symbolized the identities and used to signal the identities by those who speak them. Meaning to say, if you speak Malay, then you are simply Malaysian, right? If you speak Chinese, then you're simply Chinese. But I think in this modern era that we are living in, this should not be the only factor to characterize anyone. Because why? We live in, like Izwan said, borderless world where we can learn about new languages in any seconds. If I type or Google how do I learn Chinese in 30 minutes, I can literally Google that, right? And learn Chinese and can speak Chinese. But that doesn't mean that I'm a Chinese, right? So we live in a totally different world, and the world has evolved, and so does our thinking needs to be. And I think right now, if you ask me, the view of mastering one language reflects on one culture identity of a person is inevitably void. Because the proof is me, as I mentioned, right? I grew up in a full Malay spoken based family with no English intervention at all. And all of my life, I have been learning my subjects in Malay, which is my national language. And the only thing that made me converse and speak better in English is when me, myself, take the initiative to get out from my comfort zone in order to converse in English, because I see the importance of having the skill to speak in English for my future career, right? And that what makes me who I am today. I will not be here speaking with you using the same language we are using if I did not get myself out of my comfort zone, right? So that well, because it doesn't mean that when you converse really well in, for example, Malay, because of what education system in your country forces you, you can't be marketable in the future due to globalization, because it also works the same as, it doesn't mean that if you speak really well in English, you are not preserving your cultural identity. Because for me, you have to find the balance.
Say it one more time, Jamila. Say it one more time for them, please.
One more time. Okay. Which part? The when we speak well.
I'm kidding. You're spot on. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
You hit the nail on the
Sorry.
head.
Okay, so what I mean is that we have to find a balance between using both languages and to fairly decide on when to use them with the right audience and the right time. Because language is not the only factor to describe someone's cultural identity. We can also look at other factors like the clothes, right? Izwan is wearing our traditional clothes. Even though he is speaking in English, he's also a Malaysian, we can see, because of the clothes that he is wearing. So for me, language is not the only thing that we have to look at to describe someone's identity. Yes, that's my answer.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And just to piggyback on the different elements of identifying a person, you mentioned clothes. In Kenya recently, the parliament actually banned traditional attire called I think the Kabaka suit. Can you imagine Izwan?
What?
I'm not sure why. But can you imagine Izwan, the Malaysian parliament, banning this sort of attire? It's unthinkable. Yeah, but your turn. Tell us, what does language have to do with a person's identity?
All right, first thing first, I want to respond to the situation now. When it comes to the language, right, Mr. Ben, of course, language is very vital. when it comes to as a bridge of our communication, right? When it comes to language, personally for me, it's a fundamental, right, an essential aspect of human communication when we talk about the language itself. Here in Malaysia, right, Ben, our government's focus always focusing in terms of promoting unity. And the things that when we talk about unity, then of course, language for me is a foundations of everything. How we communicate, how we interact with people. So, Professor Latas once said, one of the ulama said, language relates to worldview since it reflects the reasons of thought of a person. That's a word from Professor Alatas. So for me, right, when we talk about the language, yes, of course, back here in Malaysia, as a Malaysian, bahasa Melayu is our we call as a national language. But others language also can be learned. There's no problem about that. For example, English as a global language, how we communicate with other people. So for me, when talk about the language, it's very important for us Malaysian to learn and to master to speak influently, very influent to speak in Malay. Ben, so that's why, as we know, right, language and unity, we cannot separate these two elements, language and unity, because language, I mentioned just now, plays a very important role in fostering the unity among the society or even the community here, right? So because from the language itself, Mr. Ben, it will affect the understanding, the understanding between here in us in Malaysian. So of course, when we talk about the language, there must be a respect as well. For example, if I speak Malay here and Mr. Ben cannot understand what I'm saying, of course, you're going to be quite offended, right? So when we talk about language, Mr. Ben, of course, it's all about respect. And when we talk about respect, you cannot deny it. It's part of the dignity. So how we want to build the unity nation, of course, it starts with language itself. So I strongly believe the language itself is the foundation of any nation to unite. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you. Kevin, tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with Izwan and Jamila just now. So language is a bridge, and then the communication must be built together. Even we have a diversity in Malaysia. So this bringing up the overall strength and unity with one understanding that totally clearly understand about from Izwan and Jamila. I totally agree with you guys.
Thank you, Kevin. So we're moving into the next segment of our discussion, which is on Islamic religious education. Izwan, what is Islamic religious education?
Thank you, Mr. Ben. This is quite sensitive, right, when it comes to religion, of course. In Malaysia, Ben, for information, right, Islam is the official religion here in Malaysia. And the majority of Malaysians are Muslims here. So when you talk about the religious, yes, of course, we talk about Islam as the official religion, but also others religions or others religious also can be followed by our Malaysians. Means there's no issue here in Malaysia about the religions, because when we talk about Islam, Islam taught us about the peace. Islam taught us about respect and so on. So here in Malaysia, we totally implement what had Islam taught us, Mr. Ben. So to answer your question about the Islamic religious education, right? Islam is for me, right? Personally, I'm not a religious person, Mr. Ben, but Islam for me is a part of life, right? So here in Malaysia, when we talk about I can relate Islam and respect, Mr. Ben, because here in Malaysia, right, we are diverse country. We are from Indian, we are from Chinese, Buddhist, Christian, and so on. So shouldn't be any issue when it comes to the religion itself. So, and all this is start from the education, because starting from the school, we learn to respect each other. We learn to take care of each other. So that's the foundation of where it all begins from the school itself. So I'm strongly believe, Mr. Ben, when we talk about the Islamic religious education in Malaysia, right? It cannot be separate with the respect itself. How you want to talk about Islam if you cannot respect other people's opinion, you cannot respect other people's opinion, and so on. So here in Malaysia, we are totally stressed about the respect, regardless of our religious. Then that's about the Islamic religious education itself in Malaysia.
Okay, thank you. Izwan, Jamila, Kavine, I fully appreciate the need to tread carefully here, but I also want you to feel that you're in a safe space to speak freely. I will also be asking my questions because I just don't know, and I want to learn. And I believe that if the CSA represents all of these young people, it shouldn't be an artificial organization where we say we represent them, but have no working knowledge of how education works. And yeah, I'm very curious in knowing. I mentioned before we started this talk officially that I am also a person of faith. I'm a very strong believer in my own faith. But we live in a diverse world, and we should be able to learn about each other and identify how we harmonize in this global world, even within our differences. So, yes, you told me what Islamic religious education is, but John Miller, take me through what one or two of these lessons or modules look like practically. Because you know, when you have a curriculum, you have to have class 1, class 2, class 3, topic 4, this, that. So give me an idea of what a class in IRM looks like.
All right, thank you, Ben. I think first of all, I would like to say thank you very much for mentioning this topic. As what Izwan mentioned, it is a highly sensitive topic to be discussed. But I believe that this kind of platform, right, the Commonwealth Student Associations, when you bring up topics like this, it brings us new perspectives of
Yes.
discussion, because we're not
Yes.
only under our comfortable zone, right? So yeah, just to add on what Izwan has mentioned, the IRM, right, Islamic Religious
Mhm.
Education, we did not actually call it as IRM in Malaysia. We called it as something else in Bahasa Melayu or Malaysian language or Malay language. Well, to give you a more understanding, this IRM is actually compulsory for all Muslim students in Malaysia, because this Islamic religious education is there at the first place is because of our Muslim majority population, right? In Malaysia, it's a Muslim majority country, so that's why it is there. But as what you also learned tonight, right? Malaysia is a rojak country. It's a mix of a diverse culture and everything. So why implement IRM, right? So you must be asking that question. I know for some fact, my friends from the Commonwealth Youth Parliament also asking the same thing. When I went to Trinidad and Tobago, it's totally a different culture than what supposed to be in my country if it was hosted in Malaysia. For in fact, when I went to Trinidad and Tobago, the culture there is a party, right? So every day we have a different party to celebrate us. But that is totally different culture than what has been practiced in Malaysia. So I believe that IRM is an education that was imposed to the Malaysian Muslim students in order to cover topics like Quranic study. Quran is our holy book, right?
Mhm,
Quran.
mhm,
So we
yeah.
study about our Quran,
Mhm.
we study about our hadith, we study also about our faith. Faith is jurisprudence. So what happened in Islam, what you can do and what you cannot do. But I think a misconception is that we only learn about our religion merely based on that. The misconception is we also learn about moral, we learn about values, we learn things as simple as how to treat human, how to treat animals, how even to treat our parents, how to treat ourselves. So we learn those kind of thing in our Islamic religious studies. So it's not just merely focusing about the religion itself. It's holistic. It's holistic. It's really holistic. And so what happened to the non-Muslim students, right? So they also have a syllabus where we learn Islamic religious education. They will learn moral, right? Moral, right, Kabi? What
Yes,
is the
exactly.
name of the subject?
Pendidikan moral.
Pendidikan moral. So moral education, moral studies. So
Mm,
we will learn
mm,
moral study while we Muslim students learn about this Islamic religious education. But if you can see the syllabus, it's merely the same in terms of the values, because I believe there's no religion that teach us to kill people, right? So as simple as that, the moral on how you treat people, how you treat everything in the planet. So maybe that would answer your questions in order to describe what are the topics or the modules that we are learning in Islamic
mhm,
religious education.
mhm, mhm.
I hope that.
That was a very apt response, but I just want to explore my curiosity a little bit more. So you explain that it extends to everyday life. Does it also do they put in the syllabus then in, and I made a mistake by saying IRM when there's no M in the
Yeah,
abbreviation.
I was quite
I'm
confused.
sorry. It's let's say IRE for short then.
Yeah.
So does it extend to climate change? Do you look at how the Quran treats with say some poverty? Do you look at how the Quran responds to matters with health, matters with fitness? Does the scope of Islamic religious education take you into modern day issues and how the system of faith and principles of Islam respond, or what it has to say about those things?
Yep. If I can answer that question, right? To be frank, whatever that is in the syllabus, of course, it's gonna be based on our holy book, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
gonna be based on what's written by our prophet. But
Mhm.
of course, how you teach the students, right? Merely can be different. You can also listen to different point of views from the students, based on whatever they brought up as, right? Because not everyone has religious family, even though you are a Muslim. So I believe that this type of classes and education is very important because it gives the platform for the students themselves to discuss what are the options, what are the opinions regarding these religious things. And they might have different opinion, but at the end of the day, we look at we try to meet the perspective based on what's written by our holy book. So I think that's the major objective of why this Islamic religious education is there at the first place, in order to give the students the option to explore. Because if we do not, if we, the government, the government is not the one that responsible to give the education to the students regarding what's the religion themselves, I think it's gonna be irresponsible for them to do so. But I think yeah, I think that's my answer to your question just now.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe both responses so far have been, I believe, comprehensive. I just want to share my own experience as a Jamaican growing up in a country that is, the majority of us are Christian. In my primary years and in my high school years, I had to take a religious education class. In fact, when I got to grade 10, which is where we get to choose our subjects, for the external examination, I continued with religious education, and I did it up to grade 11. For us, our religious education class teaches us about different religions of the world. So I have a working knowledge of what happens in Hinduism because I've been taught about that as a child. I have a working knowledge of what happens in Islam because I've been taught about that as a child. Same with Judaism. We were exposed to the symbols in those various faiths, the history, the major characters, the holy book. And I think, I certainly feel that I was taught how to respect other religions through that teaching. You know, I really do give credit to the Jamaican education sector. Yes. So it's not strange to me that there is Islamic religious education. I just wanted to know what it looked like. And I feel like I just fed the curiosity of other listeners. It's not something strange in Commonwealth countries where religion is prioritized. Yes, religion is sensitive, but religion is a core part of who we are as people.
That's right, Bang. That's called the life learning session, right?
Yes. Yes, yes. Repeat that.
Means like life learning lesson.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
It is a core part of us, and we can't strip the delivery of education from religious influences and religious knowledge. Education is not just about making employees. Education is not just about giving certificates. It is the whole person. The human experience is not about counting numbers and writing formulas. The human experience is, what do I do when I'm in grief? How do I celebrate one another? What is my understanding of love and peace? Those are values deeply rooted in religion. Yes? I know that if we get to parts of the world like Europe, where it's a little bit more obscure, they'll probably tell you, don't say the word religion in my class at all. I don't know how that works. But I think today has helped me understand, and it has given me and the listeners a better appreciation of how it works. But just two more questions. What is, this is for you, this is for you, Izwan. What does Islamic religious education, no, sorry, how does it prepare students for life after school?
Right, thank you, Ben. For me, just make it short. The most important part of the Islamic religions lesson itself is the value. Like Jamila and Kevin mentions now, is the value that we're going to bring this value until the end of my life. When we talk about value, like even you said just now about love, respect, empathy, and so on. So this all we learn from the Islam itself. And I'm pretty sure even other religion also thought about this kind of values, right? Kevin, you as a Hindu also taught us about to respect each other, right? We talk about how to feel the humanity itself. So the most important things when it comes to the education, like I mentioned just now, is a life learning lesson, is the value itself. Yeah, of course, if I want to become a ustad, a religious person, of course, I'm going to learn deeper about my religions in Islam. But for me, everyone or anyone can learn about Islam itself because this is the core value that will bring us as a country itself or even as a nation. Mr. Ben, it's very vital when it comes to value itself. Yeah.
Any remarks from you, Jamila, as we transition into the next topic?
I think thank you, Izwan, for your insights. I agree with Izwan. Well, if I could add, right, I believe religion is not only teaching us about the values, but it also prepare for us to be well-rounded individuals with a strong moral compass, contributing to societal harmony and the cultivation of ethical citizens. Because as we all know, Malaysia is diverse, and it's really amazing to see how everyone in Malaysia can respect uh, Islam as the national religion. It's not compulsory, but it's a national religion due to the majority population. But all of us can respect. I give you an example, Ben. When you come to Malaysia, you might be wondering why there is no non-Muslim is complaining about azan. Azan is actually a call to prayer for Muslim. So it is normal in Malaysia to hear the call for prayer out loud, right? So everyone is listening to that, even non-Muslims, but it is a call for prayer for Muslims in Malaysia. So it has been that is, I think, the best example I could give to you on how respectable Malaysians can be when it comes to accepting Islam as the national religion, right? And I think this is it is here because our because our maybe grandparents taught us on how to respect that at the first place, because we have been living together diversely from from before the independence, right? So we have been treated with respect way before also. So I think that is one of the reason why it is acceptable in our country, and maybe it doesn't applicable to others, but it does work in Malaysia. So that's why my description to Malaysia, rojak, right? The mix.
Rojak.
Yeah, rojak.
Yes.
Rojak. Yeah.
Rojak.
So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
there because
Yes.
everyone can accept each other's religion, right?
Thank you. Kevin, I have a question for you. A general question. How do you feel the education sector has treated with the diversity in its classrooms with respect to religion, yet being a country that prioritizes religious values so importantly? So balancing the diversity, but still its predominant religious value. How do you feel it has done?
Okay, thank you, Ben, for the question. So come again with the question with the diversity. As I said, Malaysia is the largest ethnic group with Malays, and then they contribute significantly the major cultural identity in Malaysia. So in Malaysia also the traditions like Chinese community and Indian community, and they are celebrating diverse festivals and practicing various religions and rich layers of heritage from Indians and own custom languages and religious practices also in Malaysia. Not only that, additionally, we also have like Orang Asli, Sabah, and Sarawak natives bring the unique traditions and beliefs, and also in terms of engagement in the education in Malaysia. So I would like, diversity is very big. So I would like to touch about some festivals in Malaysia, and then arts and traditions, and also especially the foods of in Malaysia. So in Malaysia, maybe when you come here, you can try different culture foods, different types of foods in Malaysia. So first of all, as I said, in Malaysia, the religious was diversity. We have the official religion is Islam religion, and then because the Malay is the majority, and then we have Buddhism, Christians, Hindus, Sikhs, and many more other different ethnic groups also in Malaysia. So festivals come to festival that celebrate in Malaysia. So if you see the Malaysia calendar, education calendar, we have a lot of holidays, and coming is Christmas. It's same goes holiday also for everyone. even though Indians or Malays, we are celebrating, we get the national holiday for, even though, for example, it's Hari Raya. Indians and Malays, other Chinese also get the holiday. So it's not particularly Malay only getting the holiday. So we are celebrating all the festivals together. So it was the unique of Malaysia. So what festival in Malaysia? Maybe I can list out some. Hari Raya, Aidilfitri. When you are here, Ben, on March, that time is fasting month.
Ramadan.
They are near to Ramadan. Yes, exactly. So that's a fasting month near to Hari Raya. Next, Chinese New Year is in the middle of February, and Deepavali usually falls on November. Christmas is, of course, 25th of November. And these are the major festivals that celebrated in Malaysia. So yes, we have Sarawak Day, like Iban, Gawai, Hari Gawai, and other religion practices and festivals also celebrated together and given as a national holiday. This is the way they are bringing up the diversity level and the strengthen among all the cultures. So these celebrations are bringing ethnic boundaries by different backgrounds. We learn about their festival and so on. And comes to the very important part here about the cuisine, about the food and beverages in Malaysia. You should try when you are here. We can say the traditional Malay food, I believe, is nasi lemak. Sorry if I'm mistaken. Nasi lemak is the traditional Malay food, I guess. And then Chinese and Indians are more to curry foods. Like we are more to curries. And then each ethnics have their own cuisine that you have to try. Maybe you can try Indian, Chinese, and Malay food when you are here. And we are also different in arts and traditions in terms of just now Jamila highlighted Izwan, the traditional dress of Izwan wearing, and then the tudung of Jamila wearing, and this is also a batik. Batik also a national dress, one of the national dress of Malaysia, and we have Indian traditional dress.
Sorry, Kavin, I just like to add, our government actually make it compulsory for all the parliamentarians to wear batik, the one that Kavi is wearing every Thursday, right, Kavi?
Yes, exactly,
yeah.
Jamila. Only two types.
I thought it was just a nice stylish shirt because I have a shirt just like that in my closet right now.
It's different. You have to
I realized.
Yeah, so Malaysia, thank you, Jamila, for that. Yeah, Malaysia is highlighted. Batik is a traditional dress, and then have to be wear in the parliament every compulsory. Not only in the parliament, all the government staffs have to wear the batik dress on Thursday. Is the highlighted in Malaysia, and then shows the strength of tradition in Malaysia. So overall, I speak a lot already, maybe. Overall, Malaysia's cultural diversity is bringing up the strength and the various traditions, language, practices, and bringing to the harmony Malaysia and colorful Malaysia in the bringing the identity of the diversity among the Asian countries. That's all, Ben.
That was beautiful. And I think you answered the follow-up question. But you see why learning from each other is so important? Because here I thought, I'm on vacation, right? And I have this shirt. Can you guys see it? It's one of my favorite shirts. I'm thinking, wow, Kevin has my style. But no, this has nothing to do with this shirt. It's an official shirt. Yeah. All right. So thanks for telling us about that, Kevin. And you took us through a description of the cultural diversity in Malaysia. And I think the way you answered it helped us understand that, if I may call the groups minority groups, because they're not the majority, they don't even sound like a minority. They're part of the mix. They're part of the Rojak. Beautiful Rojak. Yes. With half of the population being Muslim Malay, how does the education sector balance delivering education to them while catering to the diverse needs of students, of non-Malay students? Boy, I think you guys have answered that, but if you want to add anything to it, I'm throwing that out to anyone.
All right. Maybe I'll add because I
Sure.
think I've already highlighted everything regarding the holidays, right? The holidays that really brings us as one nation. But I think maybe if I could add just recently the Malaysian government I'm not sure whether you are aware. We had our election, the national election, last November last year. So it's a new government for this year. So I think one good thing about our current Ministry of Education, right? She actually imposed to all schools to have extra languages classes to learn Chinese and also Tamil. These students, these primary school students, and I think secondary already have, but they are able to learn Chinese and also Tamil, and I think there are a few sets of other languages as well, in as early as primary school. So I think that is a really wonderful initiative by the Ministry of Education in order to bring us together. Because as what Izwan mentioned, right, this is the foundation of communication of the people of the world, right? Language. So I believe by this initiative, people like me, if I were to be in primary school right now, I can learn on how to speak in Chinese. I can learn on how to speak in Tamil in order for me to converse with my Chinese and also Indian friends, right? So that is one of the initiative brought up by the new government. And I think recently the Prime Minister also commented on this. Our Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, he also commented that this is a successful implementation, but also we are still progressing. There are some pro and cons of this implementation, but I believe it is on the right track, and I think it's more on the pro side than the con side. So I think that's all. What I would like to ask, what I would like to add on your question just now. What the education sector do or does to balance out delivering education to both non-Malay and Malays.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, that's could I say that that's an ambitious policy directive to add you're already balancing Malay and English, and then to add Tamil and did you say Mandarin?
Yes, Mandarin, Chinese.
Oh wow, that's very
But,
interesting.
that's
Actually,
great. Yep.
so so Jamaica is neighbored by Cuba, which speaks Spanish, and Haiti, which speaks French. Yet for decades, different governments have said Jamaica should be a bilingual country by now, but no administration has taken a step towards implementing a policy. I think I should be able to speak some Spanish. I mean, right now I'm in the Dominican Republic,
Yeah,
and I'm struggling. I'm struggling.
well,
But it should be.
yeah, that's the power of choosing the
kudos.
right side of the government, right? You
Yes,
gotta choose
kudos.
the right side of the government.
Yes, kudos to the government of Malaysia. Yes. All right. Izwan, cultural diversity is a strength, but it can also be a source of conflict. Has it caused conflict in Malaysia? Has it been an issue in the education sector?
No, Mr. Ben. I'm proudly to say no. Because as we know, right, cultural diversity, education in Malaysia is I can say a centric part of our country educational system. I still remember our founding fathers, the first Prime Minister of Malaysia, Tunku Abdul Rahman, once said, tolerance is the key of our independence. So meaning the tolerance itself, it's still strong until now. Means when it comes to tolerance, it's all about how we respect, how we accept people's opinions. So if we don't have this kind of value, the tolerance itself, Mr. Ben, it's very hard for us to living together in Malaysia. So when it comes to cultural and diversity educations, as we know, right, here in Malaysia, yeah, we are ongoing effort to build a society, values, and of course celebrate differences. Yeah, when talk about diversity, of course, differences, while fostering a sense of national identity and unity. We talk about the nationalism itself just now during the first session. So, for example, Ben, I would to share in Malaysia when it comes to cultural diversity, education. For example, the multicultural curriculum. When we talk about the core curriculum, the national curriculum includes the elements that reflect Malaysia. That Jamila and Kevin mentioned just now. Like even I'm a Malay, I'm also can learn about other languages. For example, Mandarin or even Tamil. So that's what we call the multicultural curriculum, that the contributions regardless of my religious or my identity. And the second one that I want to add on what Kevin mentioned about this now is the cultural festival and the celebration. Yes, in Malaysia we have a lot of holidays. Yeah. When it comes to Deepavali for Indian, for Thaipusam for Indian, for the Chinese New Year, as a Muslim, we have Idul Fitri. So we celebrate those celebrations, Mr. Ben. So for me, when we talk about the cultural diversity educations, it's not about the formal education only, but apart from that, it's very a huge agenda. We can learn it. The best platform that we can learn is by we practicing it. When we talk about the cultural diversity, but here in Malaysia, that's the one of the effort that been made. We celebrate any celebrations. We talk about we respect each other. So for me, that is the best practice when we talk about the cultural diversity education here in Malaysia itself, Benjamin. Because when it comes to education, of course, it's only in school. But the most important thing is how we convince, how we encourage our new generation now to practicing it, to make it as a daily or as a habit here in Malaysia. Thank you, Mr. Ben.
Thank you very much.
Ben,
Yes, Jamila, go ahead.
I actually have a very different opinion from Izwan regarding this conflict because yeah, I agree on everything that Izwan said. But then me myself, right, I have faced conflict because of these cultural differences when I entered my university. And I believe I never faced that before because I was in public education. So where everything is fine, it's all controlled by the government, the syllabus is fine, everyone has balanced needs and wants. But then when I entered my university, it is a majority Chinese university, MMU Malacca. So I faced a conflict where all of my friends in my university are Chinese, right? And they refuse to speak in English. So they would prefer to speak in Mandarin instead of Malay as a national language or English because of that is how they grew up in with, right? Because in Malacca, Malacca is a state, one of the states in Malaysia. Actually not majority, but almost half of the population in Malacca is Chinese. So this type of Chinese actually live among Chinese and they speak Mandarin, right? They speak Mandarin their whole life. They go to Mandarin schools even. So they refuse to speak in national language. So that gives me that brings the conflict when it comes to me having to work with them in group assignments, right, in our university. So I faced that conflict. But then I think it's not a problem if you have the key. Like Izwan said, the key of this issue is actually tolerance. So once we speak out, right? What I did was that I tapped on my Chinese friends and I said how uncomfortable I am that they speak Mandarin only to me, right? Where I don't understand at all. And we were trying to discuss about assignments so they can just speak in English if they don't really converse well in Malay. but then I think they took my courage of voicing that out in a good way, that they accept, and they never speak Mandarin in front of me anymore. So I think these type of conflicts, to be frank, right, Ben, it's not all beautiful in Malaysia. There are some conflicts and problems that we're gonna face because of these differences. That's just the reality of the world that we're living in, right? Even you and me different, not about religion, also we could have conflict because of different stand of opinion, right? So I believe I have to state out the reality, because that is the reality that some of us, maybe not Kavit and not Izwan, but I faced when I was in my university time. And I think it's the matter of being tolerant, being vocal about your rights, being vocal about what's right and what's wrong, that will give you the respect that you deserve. So with this tolerance and respect, I believe we can live in harmonious world. Yeah, but there is conflicts, Mr. Ben, if I may add. Yeah.
All right, so we're coming down to it. I have one question and a remark before I invite the panelists to give their closing remarks. You mentioned Corey, Calvin. I saw on Izwan's page, I was stalking your page, Izwan. I saw that you did a sponsored ad for Subway, and there is an option to put Corey on your Subway sandwich. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Ben. I mean, in fact, Kevin, it's a Subway campaign during our Independence Month. Subway
Yeah.
sandwich wrap with the curry flavor.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's right.
Jamaicans love curry gravy.
Okay,
We
good.
There's because of our history, Indians came as indentured servants to the Caribbean, and many of them came to Jamaica and brought things, from Indian cuisine. And, we love curry. I love curry gravy. So when I saw that you were putting curry on the Subway sandwich, I was like, I'm getting that when I come. Another more serious remark, Jamila, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot here. Please pardon me if I have. I find your delivery to be quite compelling. One, you're an excellent public speaker. Two, you're very forceful and assertive. Now, there is a view that in the Islamic world, women are silenced. You certainly don't give that impression. Is this a Jamila, or is it that in Malaysia, women are being empowered? Because you certainly represent an empowered woman. Tell me about that.
Interesting. And well, you're wrong. I have to say that you're wrong, that you said that Islam doesn't empower women. No. In fact, there is a surah. What is a surah in English? There is a verse in our
Yes.
holy book that
Yes.
only talk about women. Only
Yes.
talk about how Islam empowering women and how, men should treat us. There is a specific verse on how to do that in Islam. And I believe that there is no verse talking about women cannot be vocal, women cannot be empowered, women cannot be, no. Because in fact, in other words, that Islam is actually bringing women up, that there is literally a surah about women. So I believe maybe whatever that you've read maybe has been mistakenly take from whatever Islam is practicing. But I do get a lot. I do get that a lot in even in my own conservative culture, because there are some people that is still conservative in giving women the power to lead, right? But believe me, Ben, I've been through this a lot. That first, I've been disregarded because of my religion, right? Because I am the minority in my university. But at the end of the day, I won the election and I became the first Malay and women president in my university. So, it's more of the action, less talk. So, as long as you can deliver whatever that you are fighting for, and it's not, are writing Islam as the religion. So what's wrong with that, right? Because in our prophet itself, his wife is a successful businesswoman, our prophet. So him himself, right, has that type of wife that is very vocal, very successful. So why should this man right now with this conservative mind thinks that, oh, women cannot lead? No, they can't say that. So I'm really sorry for putting you in this position, for saying that you're wrong, but you are wrong in that sense. Yeah.
I'm happily corrected. I told you, I'm here to learn. I'm one of the best students you'll find. I accept correction readily. Yes. So in closing, we have been asking the panelists to render their closing remarks in their mother tongue and to summarize the translation. So I'm going to ask you, putting you on the spot here, to render your closing remarks in your mother tongue. I think this was a very good discussion. Thank you so much for your time. I really hope that young people across the various regions of the Commonwealth will tune in and begin to see the CSA Fireside as not just a conversation, but a resource for lifelong learning. You're learning about ways of thinking, ways of life outside of what you know. Yes? So who is going to start with the closing remarks?
Well, maybe I'll
Ladies first.
Lady
Jamila.
first. So, my closing remarks, I think I would just like to say very much thank you to Kavi for inviting me to this talk, and also Ben for organizing this series, where I think I've never seen any initiative that brought different perspective from different countries, to be having a platform to discuss about their own cultural issues, their nation issues. I think this is a really good platform, and more students should be aware on this. If I was a student president right now, I would have been, really go big on the marketing for CSA, but I am no longer the student leaders. So I might just be passing this over to Izwan. So make sure you get all students to know about CSA in the future, because I think Commonwealth Student Association is very, very important. As me myself, I was the youth parliament, but I did not know about these associations, right? So the effort has to be there. We the student leaders, Izwan, you have to market this platform so that more students are aware and join this beneficial organization. And that's thank you very much, Ben. I hope I will see you in Malaysia in March.
Yes.
If Kabi asks me to join lah, right? If you can see in Malaysia, please do give me a call or text or anything. I would be happy and very honored to serve you in my country. And I hope you will like Malaysia, because it's as beautiful as we speak. Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. Thank you, Kavin. Thank you, Izwan. I had a very delightful session with all of you, and see you guys anytime in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Izwan.
Right. Lastly, I want to say my highest gratitude to Ben, Kevin, and Jamila. It's been an honor for me to be one of the panel for this session. Of course, when it comes to last word, right? As a human being, as a Malaysian, I really hope, of course, for unity in our country, Malaysia, remains a significant and ongoing aspirations for us, not only in Malaysia but globally, right, Ben? Of course, there will be challenges and an issue, but of course, we also have hope, right? The hope for the unity in Malaysia persists through a collective understanding between us. And I really hope our sharings today give something to you, Ben, and to all the person that watch our session now. And I really hope that I can meet you in March next year, right? March in Malaysia, hopefully, Kevin. So I hope everything going to be easy. And this kind of platform, of course, like Jamila said, should be promote to the students, because the platform is there. Stop waiting for the opportunities. We need to look for it. So this kind of platform, I believe, it's a very important platform for us, or not for me and Jamila or Kevin, but all of us here in Malaysia to get involved and what we call to expose ourselves, right? So I think that's all. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Kevin.
Okay, as a closing remarks, I want to teach one more word to Ben tonight. As you learned rojak, right? I want to teach you about terima kasih. It's a thank you from Malaysia. So I would like to say thank you for Ben. Terima kasih Ben, Jamila and Izwan for being a part of this Fire talk today. And I was totally very happy that seeing Malaysia stand a shining example of how multiple ethnicities, traditions, and languages that in our nation. So very proud of my Malaysia. And as Jamila said just now, CSA will be a part for every institution of public university and private university as a official body in Malaysia very soon. So we are working towards on it. And then I will invite Jamila and Izwan when Ben over here. We can have a session together with not formal session. It's an informal session together with Ben and their members when they are in Malaysia. And today we have a wonderful talk about language, Islamic religion, education, and cultural diversity. In myself, I learned a lot from Jamila and Izwan, especially on Islamic religious education, the importance of the national language, and I hope same goes to Ben today. So it was a wonderful, delightful session today, and thank you guys for having me. And that's all from me, Ben. See you soon in Malaysia.
Thank you so much. Just my few closing thoughts. I want to give my highest regards to Kishva Ambigapathy, who connected the CSA with Kevin. And I mean, Kevin hit the ball rolling immediately. His work ethic is unparalleled. We appreciate you, Kevin. We haven't met in person, but you have just been committed to the task. And I just want to express appreciation to you as well as to Kishva. To the panelists, if I could just share my screen very quickly so that you know what it is we're about. The theme of the Year of Youth Tour is One Resilient Common Future, Students as Co-Creators and Stakeholders in Education. We're coming to 13 countries to have high-level meetings with ministers of education, youth, perhaps heads of state where they are willing to meet with us. Our target is to engage by mixed modality, 5,000 students, 2,000 teachers. We are looking into establishing officially a home for the CSA and assisting 3 countries in creating national student representative bodies. This is the team of executive leaders from the CSA, proudly a part of this team. The Year of Youth Tour will bring grassroots advocacy, high-level engagement, and capacity building to student leaders and stakeholders from Kenya, Namibia, South Africa, Mauritius, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Maldives, Brunei, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Vanuatu, from February 12 to April 25. Our objectives include improved visibility, strengthened credibility, improved sustainability, and bolstered impact. And finally, to show you the team, I just want to, of course, highlight our guy. See him here, Kevin. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Looking forward to engaging, and have a good night.